Hey everybody, Jay Shalansky here from the 5th Trooper. Just wanted to do this little intro for some housekeeping stuff and a couple other announcements. So number one, for those of you that usually watch us on YouTube, this episode, because of the way we had to record it, we had a special guest on and there won't be a ton of video. It's just basically going to be our logo. But I hope you listen and enjoy it anyways. Number two, so there's a number of great events coming up: PAX Unplugged, Las Vegas Open, Adepticon. The 5th Trooper Squad's going to be at all of them, and we'd really love to see you. And so, if you're going to head to any of those, drop us a line and come on out and see us. Maybe we'll catch a beer, talk some Legion, and whatever else you want to talk about. I think it's going to be really great. So I really encourage any of you that are going to be at any of those events, try to find us. We'll be in all the Legion tournaments, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Also, if you get a chance, if you really have been liking the podcast and you enjoy what we're offering here, if you could just throw us a review and a comment up on iTunes or YouTube, that would be fantastic. That really helps us. And then lastly, really, I just want to thank everybody for listening and all the feedback, and we've really been enjoying doing this, and we're so happy that people have responded and that you guys really enjoy it. So thank you so much. And, have a great Thanksgiving if you're here in the States, and, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you next week. Enjoy this next episode. It's a really good one.
Welcome to the 5th Trooper Podcast.
Hello and welcome back to the 5th Trooper Podcast, where we talk everything Star Wars Legion. My name is Jay Shalansky, and I'm joined by Evan Bulris. And today we have a special guest, LJ Peña. How's it going, LJ?
Good afternoon, everybody. It's been one of the most exciting days of Legion that I can remember in a long time.
This whole week's been going pretty good for it.
Yeah, this has been an insane week. So for those of you who don't know LJ, you'll see him on the Facebook Legion groups giving you tips and tricks and rules reference. You'll see him as Talk Polite on the Legion Discord channel. He actually ran, you did the TO, right? The tournament organizing for the Invader League?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the three people that runs it.
Okay. And then he also now does, you write for Impact X as well.
That is correct. I have way too much Legion on my plate, and nothing could be better.
Well, now we know who the foremost expert is, so we'll just, every time we have a fan question, we'll send them right to you.
If you must.
Yeah.
If you gotta.
So why don't we start off and talk about, since today was a really big day for this, why don't we talk about the Las Vegas Open? So any hot news that you got for that?
Sure. Yeah, no, I've been kind of waiting and watching to see what's going to happen, because, when I reached out to Frontline, or Frontline reached out to me to run the Las Vegas Open, I think at the time they had like 18 people or so, maybe 15 signed up for Vegas, and this was back in August or so. So, when I took the reins, I was like, well, what I want to do with it is I want to make it, a celebration of the community that eclipses some of the other tournaments that have happened so far. And throughout, the last couple weeks, last couple months, the community has really poured in all of its support and dedication to this cause. And we were able to get to 50 people registered. And I was pretty satisfied with that. I was like, yep, if we get 48, if a couple people drop and don't show up on the day, we'll still double some of the other tournaments out there. And I thought that was a pretty good accomplishment. And then I asked the guy that runs Frontline Gaming, who puts on LVO, what our wait list was at. And he told me that we were at 24 people on the wait list. So I'm sitting there thinking like, wow, I have half the people in my tournament sitting on a wait list. Let's see if we can bump it up. And lo and behold, we still got 2.5 months until game day. There's enough time for them to rearrange the floor space to make it work. And now we're up to 64 players. And with the day passing as it did, I'm not saying that we have 64 spots. I'm saying 14 extra people have already bought tickets, and we're now at 64 people, which is probably going to be the final cap. I don't see it getting bigger than that.
Yeah, and that's amazing, and I think that's what the maximum firepower for Adepticon has too, right? 64 as well.
Yep. That's their
So
max, and I know they're waitlisting on top of that, but to go
yeah,
pound for pound with Adepticon, which it already has a large draw because it's Adepticon, but also because High Command is the next day. I mean, that was pretty
Yeah.
special. That felt pretty good to us, myself and Brendan, who is the head judge. For the two of us to get there in such a short amount of time, and in the first year of Legion, as a non-official FFG event, something that they didn't have any hands on, yeah, that felt pretty good.
That's pretty awesome.
yeah. And I'm sure a lot of the people that are going, but like just for everybody out there listening, like people are going to this, as far as I know, from all over North America, like East Coast, down south, like Florida. I think people from, Canada, Saskatchewan, like all crazy places, people are coming for this LVO event. So it's going to be intense.
Yeah, I'm very excited. We started out with 2 qualifier spots, and now we're giving away 6. So that was a recent update that we were very stoked to unveil. I'm hoping that now that we're going par for par with Adepticon and seeing that they might give away like 10 last qualifier spots at Adepticon, I'm hoping that maybe we can mix and match and get a couple more for that. But at the time, that's not confirmed at the moment. Our focus now is just making sure that we have quality tables for people to play on and getting more prize support. And I mean, with the way that the community has responded to us so far, the prize support end of this has been absolutely fantastic. I mean, in the last couple months, people like yourself and Imperial Terrain and all these other businesses that I could list off have donated around $1,000 in product related to this game or stuff that would just be cool to have. And I mean, I can't, tell you how thankful Brendan and I are to get that from this community.
Yeah. So what are some of the things? I don't know. If for the people out there listening, if you haven't seen, LJ posts Facebook, Twitter, everywhere about some of the giveaways that are in prize support that's going to be there. But for people who haven't seen it, what are some of the stuff they can expect at LVO?
So to start, when everybody shows up and registers at the registration table, they're going to get the lanyard that's provided by Fifth Trooper. So it's a custom lanyard that's got either a Rebel or Imperial logo on it, a space for the player to write their name so everybody will know who they are, and you'll walk away with that at the very least. Then we're trying to put together some various swag bags. Now, the swag bags, those are the things that we're actively building right now, but there's all sorts of stuff that may go in there. For now, at the very least, I know there'll be some random prizes that some swag bags will have, some will not. So just like in Vegas style, you might get lucky, you might not. And there's also going to be custom objective tokens that have the logo of the convention on it. It's if you know Warhammer 40K, they have a Commissar Elvis logo that they're using for LVO because it's a really big Warhammer event. And Rebel Lightworks is making objective tokens that every player will walk away with. So you'll get those. There's what else do we have? We have the custom Luke and Vader figures that you guys sponsored. Those are custom made samurai figures of both of those characters painted to a master standard. So those are going to be really nice. We've got something that's in the work right now. We've got some order tokens that we've been working on. Basically, what those order tokens are your standard Legion tokens, but they're printed on poker chips. And so we're trying to get those finalized and pushed out so we can make full sets. So you'll get 18 tokens in a set, maybe 20 if we throw a couple extra fun ones in there. But you'll get a full set of order tokens that are printed directly on poker chips. And then the other side says like Las Vegas Open 2019 or something like that on it.
Yeah, that's a man. Like just the stuff that I had heard about. Like this is going to be incredible, man.
Yep. So on top of that, there's also Imperial Terrain is doing a lot of stuff to help get us on the map. Originally, and Imperial Terrain had talked about this on Outriders maybe a month ago now, but he had committed to giving us 6 tables for Vegas. And after talking to them today, he's now bringing 12 tables worth of terrain. All painted, man. All Imperial Terrain, classic stuff. Like just the cool stuff you see on the website. Yeah, that's the stuff they're bringing. And it'll be all painted and nice and ready to go for our tables. And so what we're going to do is we're going to, take all that stuff and let you know, like, hey, this is the Imperial Terrain stuff. And I believe if you're interested in purchasing it at, I think, a discounted price from Dave, you can do so and you can walk away with some of that terrain as well. And then we also have Dan Wolf Games, who they helped us build some maps for the Invader League. He's going to bring one of the maps we used on our Invader League, and we're going to actually be able to physically play on it at LVO. And then I think that set is either going to be sold off or given away at the raffle at the end of the tournament.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we're looking into custom figures, gift cards, terrain, game accessories. I mean, you name it, we've looked into it. We're doing our best to Vegas this thing up as much as possible with the random giveaways and the theming and stuff like that. My marshal, Brendan, he's going to be in his Imperial officer getup. So while you're waiting to register, you're going to have an Imperial officer from the 501st, feeling you up and making sure you have your papers. Imperial Terrain is they're also doing a couple cash prizes for the top two, and I believe we're trying to get those prizes printed on giant checks so you can walk away with a giant check Vegas style.
That's amazing.
So the giveaway at the end of LVO, that's the 3,720 to 1 giveaway. How you get entered in that is you play all 4 of your games. Because if you don't know, LVO is 4 rounds Swiss followed by a single top cut game for the top 12 players. But all you have to do is finish all 4 of your games. You don't have to win them, but if you finish all 4 games, then you'll be entered in the 3,720 to 1 giveaway. And how that works is during the top cut, I'm going to write everybody's name on a ping pong ball that finished all 4 of their games. And then I'm going to put it in a little bingo spinner, like where you rotate it and then you take the numbers out to call bingo. And that's how you're going to win prizes during the giveaway.
Oh man, that's
cool.
Amazing.
What else? The other thing, this was a recent idea that I'm trying to do. Don't know if it's going to work, but I think what we're going to try to do is get a roulette wheel made, and then we'll put 128 spots on it. I think it is. I'll probably do this digitally now that I think about it. But anyway, we're going to try to put a bunch of spots on it. 1 spot for each table, each player on each table. So you spin the wheel, and then you've got, table 20 blue player, table 16 red player, and if it lands on that spot and that player on that table, that person will get a prize.
I knew I shouldn't have taken that deep a bid. It's all ruined now. Those impact grenades screwed me.
So we'll see. We're doing all sorts of fun little stuff like that, and that's just the goal. The goal is to make it, not only, one of the biggest, if not at this point, the biggest Legion tournament that's happened in its first year, but we want to take it, and we also want to use it to celebrate the community and everything that has surrounded it in this past year. We're looking at, by the time LVO happens, it'll be about a month left until this game has been around for a year, and I personally want to celebrate that journey through this tournament.
Yeah, and I'll say, if anybody out there hasn't had a chance to interact with some of the other guys in the communities, I don't know, this community is really, really great, and everybody I've run into has just been amazing and really kind, and and especially I know maybe some of you might see it differently, but when somebody comes on the Facebook and is trying to help you with rules and stuff, where everyone's just trying to make this game better, and I think that the community has just been fantastic for this game. Yeah,
I mean they make me look good. I don't know if you know this, but I don't actually do anything. It's just I talk to people and they do the good stuff, and I'm just like, yeah, that sounds great, let's do it. And then it happens, and then people are like, wow, you're really cool, and I'm like, no, I'm not. Other people are
you
cool.
Are. No,
I'm just in the vicinity of their coolness. Seriously, it's been like that since I started running Invader in the summer. So yeah, it's been a great journey so far. For something that felt like we started throwing it together at the last minute, we're very pleased with, I think, what we're going to put in front of everybody, and hopefully it'll be a great event that people can look forward to every year.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great just from what I've seen and what you told us today. I'm really looking forward to it. So let me talk about this since we're still talking about LVO. For some of the people who are going that maybe haven't experienced something as large as this, why don't you like just take a second and kind of describe what the day is going to look like for them?
All right, so if you haven't been to a convention tournament before, it's going to be very different than your standard tournament that you usually go to at your local gaming store. Now, if you haven't been to any tournaments at a local store before Vegas, go to as many as you can now, because it'll help make the day easier. Trust me. The day starts at 8 a.m. Well, at least it starts at 8 a.m. for me. That's when registration opens up. And if you've already got a ticket, you've already registered, you just come up to the desk, I look at your list, and then you go about your day until about 8:45. I'll gather everybody in a group, and then I'll talk about the pairings and some of the basic things I want to go over before round one begins. Round one begins at 9 a.m., and it ends at 11:15. So 2 hours, 15 minutes later, we push the end time for each round a little past what it normally is at some of the other tournaments that have happened. That cycle rinses and repeats throughout the rest of the day. So you've got round one, then 15 minutes after round one ends, round two begins, and then there's a lunch, then which is about, I think, an hour, and then round three, round four, and then the top cut. And the top cut is only the top 12 players. By the time the top cut is over, so let's say you play 5 games because you make it into the top 12, dice stop rolling at 10 p.m. at night. So by that time, you've been playing Legion. If you take out lunch, you've been playing Legion for 12 hours. Basically 12 hours straight.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Legion. I mean, that's a lot of Legion for like regular people, let alone people that have like done this before. They still get fatigued by it. If you've never done this before, oof, it can be a day. So, first of all, know your own stuff. The more familiar you are with your own stuff, where everything is packed, that you've got all the right tools, that you have the right components of your army that you said you brought. If you are familiar with your own equipment, it's going to make the day easier, because it's going to be people asking you questions, processing interactions, and standing for the whole day. And I mean,
right.
Sure, there'll be chairs, but you're going to be playing the game. You're going to be talking, so your voice is probably going to be shot by the end of the day. If not the next day when you wake up, you're going to feel it. If you weren't wearing the right kind of shoes, you're going to hate yourself the next day.
Yep. Yeah, and this is maybe I want to say maybe 4 or 5 episodes ago, we were talking about like being prepared for even just a local tournament. But I think everything we told you about that, like bring water bottles, bring snacks, like you're going to need all of that. Wear really comfortable sneakers. Like these are all keys to your success. It's Vegas, so there's a good chance it's going to be a little warm, especially with all those people in there. They will have AC, but it'll still be warm because it's a convention, and they always are.
We're sharing the convention space with the other tournaments that are happening on that day. I'm sure. I doubt it's going to be just our 64 players in a space together. So yes, you definitely want to make sure that you're dressed comfortably for the entire day's event, because otherwise you're going to be miserable. And we don't want people to feel like they have to go change or leave or grab something unexpectedly. Something that I know I do when I go to events like this is make sure that I have at least a water bottle, if not 2, on me, and then a couple little snacks, because there'll be snacks and like other food and water available, but you're going to pay the Vegas price for it. That's sure.
Oh yeah. And just for everybody too, if the 64 number seems daunting, think of it this way: you have just around 20% chance of getting into the top 12, and so with the 6 invites, it's just under 10% of getting an invite out of this. So your odds are much better than they are anywhere else in Vegas.
That's true.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Very true. Yeah. It's the fairest game out there, right?
Yeah, right.
Something about 3,720 to 1 comes to mind.
Yeah, that's right.
And just so you know, with the number of prizes that I've got for that, your chance of walking away with something from Vegas, well, it's more like what is it? It's more like the droid from Rogue One. It's high. It's very high. So like, you want to make sure that like the stuff you bring is not unwieldy. Like you should be able to carry everything you need comfortably. Otherwise, again, your day's just going to be miserable because,
Yeah.
you're going to be juggling that stuff for hours. You're not going to want to carry it the entire time. So you want to make sure that like you can move things around easily between tables. And then, you want to make sure that everything is somewhere that you can keep an eye on it. So like if you bring a display board, make sure it's somewhere where you can keep an eye on it. If you bring like a rolling bag, make sure it's somewhere you can keep an eye on it. You don't want to have 3 or 4 different things that you bring with you and then suddenly you forget something on the tournament floor because
Right.
you walked off with 3 out of 4 of your bags. And you're also probably going to get stuff that you did not come with, at the very least the swag stuff that I've already talked about. But 4 of the prizes are full 6x4 mats from War Sigil.
Yeah.
So,
That's awesome.
and they're going to come with the carrying case, but still, like, you're going to walk away with more than you came with, most likely. So you want to make sure that you're prepared to handle all that stuff too.
Yeah, and I mean, just keep that all in mind. And I guess from our standpoint, I would recommend like any of the battle foams, like those packs. Those are good for army carrying, and they got pockets in the front for stuff, and then maybe a backpack for water, food, all that stuff. That's probably what you're going to want to do.
Yeah, Legion's
Yeah.
nice because it's not like you have to look around like a 40K army.
Yeah.
Like, jokingly aside, besides vehicles or something, I was carrying my army around in a coffee can. Like, what do I care? But nicer bags are good. But these fan events are always the best. When I go to all the X-Wing events, it's the fan ones are always like the Steel Open was awesome. Those are always way better than the official ones. Official ones always feel kind of sterile to me. Where these fan ones are, everyone's walking away with this like, any sort of prize. Like it always feels like everyone's having more of a good time. Like these are the ones to go to if you can.
Yeah, and I mean, my goal is to like try to make it as approachable for people that haven't done this before as possible. We've been trying to answer all the questions people have had leading up to the events about like, oh, does my stuff need to be painted, and what if I change the model in this way? Is that okay? Like if you're looking at this and you're worried about the task that's been set in front of you, the best thing to do is just to ask. If you haven't thoroughly read the document on the LVO website, it's a Word document that has all of our rules and regulations for this event. Make sure you know that back and forth, because it'll probably take care of most of those questions. It'll outline the timeline for you. It'll tell you that no, we don't require painting and basing for your army at this event. But yes, you should have all of the cards that you need to play the game. You shouldn't bring proxies. Or, it'll outline more prizes as we get them. I should have had it open when I was talking about it, because we've added so much stuff. I forgot that we're also doing a best painted army contest during lunch.
Oh,
That's cool.
And
we don't want to
we
give
have
it all
prizes for
away.
that,
You got to tease them. You got to tease them a little bit, right? Get them in the door.
Yeah, well, the door is wide open, people. The door will hopefully be open next year as well. And we just couldn't be happier that we're getting the responses we have to this so far.
Yeah, and really quick before we close up on LVO, I do want to say one thing. So for those of you who weren't able to get from the 50 to 64, get on the wait list. If you're going to be at LVO anyways for another event or something like that, there's bound to be somebody that can't make it. So you have a chance of still getting in if you're going to be at LVO anyways.
Yeah, when I jumped on the wait list, I'm like, well, either I get in or I don't, right? Like, but there's a Shadespire Grand Clash, or I'm sorry, Warhammer Underworld's Grand Clash. There's X-Wing, there's Warhammer, there's Kill Team. There's a million things going on.
Yeah, it's a great convention by itself. Not including the possible Legion stuff you could do. I am trying to see if I can make time on Saturday for one of the painting master classes, because I don't know how to paint faces for Jack. And you can go learn from an expert, over the course of an hour or two. If you happen to get like a buy or something during one of the tournaments you're at, just go walk around because there's going to be so much stuff going on. And so many things to look at during the course of the day. I'm glad that I can also be in town on Saturday because I think I'm gonna like sleep in till noon, and then I'm gonna go walk around the convention floor and go look at everything, and then hopefully Saturday night. And if you're going to LVO, please make sure you try to mark this on your calendar. Saturday night we're having a dinner at 8 p.m. I think it is at a place called Hofbrau House, which is right around the corner from Bally's Casino. And so
that place is amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and if you can't tell by Jay's reaction, that's why we picked it because it's like how do you describe it? It's like it's Oktoberfest seating, so it's just these huge tables where you just take a seat, and they've got like ridiculous entertainment, which is why we're going on a Saturday night because the weekend entertainment is the best. Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
I don't know if they do this anymore, but the last time, so I've been to the one in Vegas and in Germany, and the last time I was at the one in Vegas, they definitely paddle your behind. The waitresses do after you take, like, I think it's like a flight of shots. So you can come do that if you want.
That will be something, and that's open to everybody. I have no comment from the tournament organizer. I have no comment on this time about the paddling that I will be receiving. But I know that that'll be a great event, the day after, to just detox, talk about the awesome adventures that happened the day before. If you brought like a significant other or a family member or something to Vegas with you, bring them too. Like, we're just hoping to make it a fun gathering to talk about hopefully how much fun the previous day was.
Yeah, and for everybody too, we were talking about this before we started cast, but basically this is going to be a who's who of the Legion community. So if anybody you've seen online, talking about Legion, or they do Legion Terrain or podcasts like ours, like, I think almost everyone is going to be there. It's going to be insane. So, even if if you're in other tournaments and doing other stuff and you're like a casual Legion player, even if you want to find some of us and just pick our brains, like, there's going to be enough Legion brain power there that you'll get all the information you could ever want.
Yeah, I know you guys are going to be there. Outriders are going to be there. Myself and Nick from Impact X are going to be there. Notorious Scoundrels, I think a couple of them are going to probably be there.
I think all three are going to go.
Yeah, Sean Morris, who does the awesome custom terrain, he just committed to going to. He got in a waitlist spot, so he's going to be there. Imperial Terrain Dave, who's doing all this awesome stuff for us, he's going to stay on Saturday night and hang out as well. So yeah, good times.
Yeah. All right. So LJ, why don't you tell us a little bit? So, we've talked Invader League on our podcast, and, for anybody who's listening, if you listen to Notorious Scoundrels, they talk about it all the time too. It just season 2 just wrapped up. So how'd that go for you, man?
Yeah, so season 2 was great. It was in a weird spot because of the way that I like to run the league with like its parity thing, where we allow unreleased content, but we try to make sure that each side has an equal release before you get that content. And so it was in a weird spot with all of the articles and things that were dropped and revealed during its life. And so I think it technically brought some different challenges from the first time, but at the same time, it was still a great event, and we learned a lot from it. We learned a lot about bids. We learned a lot about the way that people do battle cards. We learned a lot about some of the units that now people finally have in their hands or are about to play with. I think when we looked at like Wookiees on paper, for example, a lot of people were really down on Wookiees, but after seeing them played in the round robin and single elimination, people really enjoyed them. And people just got to do that. They got to play with these unreleased units and see how they might bring them to their table. Overall, we had, I think it was 74 people sign up for the tournament and 60 people that actually played at least one match in the tournament itself. So, 60 was an increase from last season of about 15 players. So I was very happy with that. The tables were wonderfully done by Tyrion, who does the maps and the Legion mod itself, and some of the other people that came together to help give us the content for those maps. And we got to see some really cool stuff. The single elimination was great. A lot of classic games came out of that. We saw some great Palpatine play with R1H4, who just did the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. What was it, last week? So that was great to see him in action, and I love that. And oddly enough, it ended in the exact same way the first season did.
Yes.
You could call it a downside, or you could call it hilarious, depending on how you view things. But season
depending
one,
on who you were in that game.
yeah. So spoiler alert: season one, Kingsley, who is now my head judge in these tournaments as well. He helps me with some of the rule decisions we have to make. He won the first season as key positions as blue player. It was in the third spot, and he beat Riggins, who was also a rebel player, and they duked it out on key positions, and he came out on top. And I couldn't cast it myself because I had a family thing going on, so I tuned into the cast right when they were picking battle cards. And I was like, excellent, let's see what it's going to be this year. And by damn, was it key positions in the third spot again.
Yep.
So I think his, and he was blue player, I think his opponent did a good job of trying to use the battle card choices that he had to mitigate some of the pieces of terrain that Kingsley could put the objectives on. And so even though, from a, let's say, sports perspective, it was a little boring to have that sort of repeat action going on, I still think it was a great game to watch. Both players played well. They were cordial to each other. And, that's all I could really ask for. It was such an easy tournament to run that I always love doing this because people just want to come out and play and have fun with the new stuff, but more importantly, get to see what other people all over the world play like, because you don't just get to play with people from your local store. Now you play with somebody that's in England, or people on the East Coast, people on the West Coast, we had one guy that was in Japan. I mean, we have guys from all over the place. Aussies, can't forget about my Australia guys. I mean, all over the place. They come to play in this tournament. And so it really represented some of what I think is the best in Legion to me. And, we were able to get a fabulous prize pool for this event as well. We gave away about $600 to $700 worth of gift cards and other stuff for this tournament. And I can't wait till we come back in March for season 3.
Yeah, and for everybody out there, it's Tabletop Simulator, and then there's the Legion, I guess it's game on there. Highly recommend it. It's a great way to practice too. If you can't make it into a store, if you can get a buddy or go onto the Discord channel for Legion and get a game going on there, really good. So cool, man.
I just talked on. What was it, on Impact X about this? That's actually one of the reasons why I got onto the Discord and how I was able to play Legion for the first couple months of it, because I physically could not play Legion from March till about August or so. And the only reason I was able to play was because of the Tabletop Simulator mod, and because I wanted people to play with. We ended up starting that tournament in the first place. And I think as a tool, it's not the be all end all. It really isn't. The Invader results and the people who won that tournament, they're not necessarily like the best players in Legion. But just being able to get out of your comfort zone, to start playing with new stuff that you might be playing down the road, to see people that play Legion in a different style than you, I think is very positive. And, I've been to 3 or 4 in-person tournaments over the last couple months. I've been trying to go to at least one a month for the last couple months. And it's definitely made me a better in real life player, because I can test my crazy theories without having to buy all the stuff to do them first. And, see other people's perspective. And I've definitely brought some of those perspectives to the table myself.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, just from watching Invader League and stuff, and just seeing some of the best play. It's really enlightening to how you approach your own game too. So it was really good aspect of the community, I think. So, all right, man, I'm going to let it be dealer's choice here. What do you want to talk about next? There's some new stuff that came out this week. I'll let you pick our next topic. What do you want to talk about?
I mean, Did you caught Jin and Pathfinders in your last go about, right?
No, we haven't talked about it at all, so we can talk about
Oh
it
my
now.
lord! So you've got that, and you've got this. So I honestly, I kind of want to talk about the RRG update that happened today because wow, was that a big update?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
So for me, just and I'll let you talk about some of the bigger stuff, but one of the ones that really made me sad was no more force push off the table. That's super sad.
Yeah, I feel you there. I had seen some of our best. Actually, speaking of Invader, some of our best moments from that came from some crazy offboard force pushes, and I believe in the season 1 final, a Luke was pushed off the board. And
Oh,
so,
jeez.
yeah, right. I mean, you,
Oh,
you talk
jeez.
about losing like your, Z6 squad or squad of Wookiees or something. Now think about the consequences of getting your Luke pushed off the board.
Yeah,
Oof.
I know.
Oh, man.
Oh. But yeah, that so for those of you that don't know, they updated the rules guide today. It takes, I think, what did we see on Facebook there, LJ? It's next Thursday, right? Takes effect.
The 29th, I think it was. Whichever day
Yeah.
the 29th is.
Yeah, and so this is going to affect basically PAX Unplugged, which is next week, and everything moving forward. It's if you go up to Fantasy Flight's site where they have the rules and everything, it's right under there. Everything in blue is changed in there. There's a lot of little stuff, but LJ, I'll let you break. What's the biggest, baddest, best change that they made?
Well, actually, some of my choices might be controversial in that regard, just
All
because
right.
there's just so much to unpack. So I didn't do this. Nick, the primary Impact X guy, he actually did an article summing up all the changes, which was awesome of him because it makes my life a little easier. If you asked the average Legion player, and again, this goes back to Invader stuff we were literally just talking about, they made an errata to key positions. And that's good because I think the game definitely needed it. Bidding is something that's going to be in Legion whether you want it to or not, because inherently there are advantages you could take away from being the blue player, and I think those advantages are going to ebb and flow depending on what wave of the game in particular that we're talking about. Here's how key position changed. It says place an objective token on the piece of terrain closest to the center of the battlefield. And it doesn't say blue player, red player. Both players place this piece. If multiple pieces are equally close to center, blue player chooses. So there's your blue player advantage. Then, starting with the blue player, each player places one objective token. So now, instead of blue player gets 2, red player gets 1, you've got a centrally located objective, which is great. Yep. And then each player gets to place 1 as normal. So I think that will ease a lot of people's, misgivings about key position, about it being the end-all, be-all. I think what this does is for mobile players like Boba, or people that are about to pull off some serious shenanigans with Jin and Pathfinders. I think if anything, it made recover the supplies a new key positions almost, and we can get into that later. And I think Scoundrels might have covered that as well. But yes. I think a lot of people are going to be very pleased by this change. I have a tournament coming up on Sunday, and I believe the coordinator is going to allow us to play with the new rules instead of waiting until Thursday to use them. So I hope I get to try it myself, and I think it's going to be great. I know that's the big one that everybody was kind of waiting for, but again, I guess it depends on your perspective. What are some of the other rules?
I think that's the big one. Let's see what else. I think the sleeper one is the rapid reinforcements change.
Yeah, that one's right below it on this list. The rapid change is pretty simple. Now it's 1 to 2 instead of 0 to 2. Friendly, non-commander, and it also does specify non-operative units. So no more deep striking Boba Fett. And then they also come in at the end of first turn.
Yes.
Yeah, it's cool.
So I think that honestly, a lot of people that I've talked to at the tournaments of the last couple of weeks simply refer to rapid reinforcements as clear conditions. So
yeah.
it's
That's what I did. But see, I'm
Yep.
just like, well, I choose 0.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, let's go. The big one for me
So
is vehicles can do standby.
yeah, I know a lot of people have already referenced that that'll be great, and unlike all of the other units that can take standby, ground vehicles using standby specifically, um, they can't lose it because they don't take suppression.
Yeah. No, that's really strong because that's new to this too, isn't it? Getting
Yeah.
suppression loses the standby,
Yes.
or was that always like that?
No, I
No,
think
I've
this.
used standby a whole
it's-
like one time.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. I guess we're just rapidly going through these now. But yeah, so
Oh, sorry.
this is so much. No, it's
No,
fine.
just,
Yeah.
But that's the other new thing. Basically, if your unit is in standby and if they receive suppression while they are in standby, they lose standby, so they won't be able to attack. So that's new.
Yeah, that's. I mean, honestly, that's the way I think a lot of people that I talk to look at it because and maybe that was because we had sought that clarification from the devs a little while back, but just the fact that vehicles aren't hindered by that. The ground vehicles, because again, only ground vehicles can stand by, not all vehicles. That's that's a good boon to them, and I think vehicles needed some little buffs. I think if you get overzealous with the improvements, vehicles might go overboard in what I think the devs want to be an infantry-centric game, but it's a good little cookie for them, I think.
Yeah, and I think it gives them a little bit of a boost now to maybe we'll see a little bit more in tournaments again, where they were completely falling off lately, especially with snipers out. Vehicles were kind of dropping. So I'm hoping, because I like the vehicles, I like seeing different armies, so I think it'll be nice to see them out again if this hopefully helps them.
Definitely. I think the one that surprised me most, and this is my pick from the list, is the slight changes to bounty. And this is a scenario that can't happen yet. So hold on. But let's say that we get another bounty hunter for the Imperials. I have Boba, and let's go with IG-88, the robotic bounty hunter that's awesome and we need in this game. Boba kills the bounty. Boba gets the bounty. Boba dies to other bounty hunter. Other bounty hunter claims the bounty.
Yeah.
And that one I think is going to be cool. I mean, in the Imperial matchup with bounties bouncing between the two players, oh, you got my bounty because let's say you killed my Veers, but my bounty hunter killed yours, and now I get the extra victory point. Man, that's going to create some fun last-second wins.
That's really awesome. Thematically, it's just cool, right? Because it's how they play, right? Like they're just their own team. That's really awesome.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited. I think it'll be. I think bounty hunters are going to be something that are going to be, an Imperial signature, because I think at this rate, with Boba going to Imperials, I feel that you're not going to see a scum faction in Legion. I'm not getting that vibe from what they've put out so far, and so I think they're keeping that bounty mechanic for the Imperials. I don't think you're going to see the Rebels do that, and I'm not even sure if you're going to see the Cis, or more importantly, no, sorry, that's what I was thinking of. I don't think you're going to see the Cis factions do that. I think that'll be something that they'll keep uniquely Imperial, and I'm perfectly okay with that, to be honest.
Yeah, we were kind of bouncing back and forth that maybe a thing foresight for me is if they ever release like a Cassian Andor, he might have an option like that, but probably not bounty now that I'm thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
There's definitely a couple other big clarifications that have been put out there. Emplacement troopers have lost the ability to claim objectives or to repair and sabotage objectives. And that's a big one too for people that like to leave the eWeb or the 1.4 back to interact with objectives. However, they did clarify on the opposite side of that coin that barricades do count for emplacement troopers, and obviously that mattered a little more for the 1.4 because I know that was a point of contention for some people.
Yeah, that was a good one too. The other one I found interesting is the cohesion rules with terrain levels.
Mm-hmm. So you can put your models on separate levels still, but you can't put them on separate levels during deployment, is how I read that change. Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yep, and that's the big change. So where this is going to affect, like one of the things we always recommended to people is like, okay, you have a sniper unit, put the sniper up one level and put the secondary one down, and then if they kill him, they kill your unit leader, which is your sniper. You just replace the secondary one down with the sniper, and you could still do that, but you can't do it as deployment. You're going to have to start on one level, climb or clamber up with your sniper, and then you can leave the other guy down as long as it's distance 1, range 1, up or down.
Yep. And, that kind of, it's the theme that I'm seeing with a lot of these changes is that, honestly, they got rid of a lot of, like, gamey stuff, stuff that seemed anti to the rules. Just because your unit gets pushed an inch off the battlefield doesn't mean they fall into a chasm that was there.
Yes.
Like they specifically tried to get rid of stuff to me that felt very, very gamey, and other interactions like that were odd and needed further clarification. So I definitely appreciate those changes because everything feels a lot smoother just looking over some of these changes, and I'm sure when I play, I'm going to appreciate them as well. And I mean, it gave us a ton of other things that we don't even have access to yet, but we got to learn about. I mean, do you want to talk about some of the new things on there that we can't even do yet?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Which one? What one do you want to talk about first?
I'm looking at this repair one.
Oh man,
yes, yeah.
Oh yeah, because like my first list that I played consistently was double ATST, and I mean I played double ATST at the end of January, beginning of February, before the game even dropped, and that's all I played throughout the entire summer was just that list. I just tried to get better at it and better at it over time, and so seeing cards that are going to repair vehicles, of course, is something I'm gonna love. And I think there was also something with repair that had to do with repairing damaged vehicles, and I don't know if you had seen that. And by damaged, I mean the condition damage.
Yeah, so they had so they put a whole sentence back in there saying that, yes, if it gets, basically what I got out of it was if it's getting repaired and you have a damaged token on it, that it can't get damaged again, like if you whittle the wounds back down.
Yeah, I'm looking over it now. I mean, oh my gosh, there's just so much to unpack here. Yeah, so with so it says with repair, you can use repair X to remove wound, ion, or damage tokens. And that's the one that's interesting to me because, fixing damage tokens, are we fixing vehicles that have been damaged and have a condition on them now?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then the other interesting part was like under resilience, like it says if a vehicle already received a damage token due to suffering wounds equal to or exceeding its resilience value, it cannot gain another vehicle damage token of the same or different type due to suffering additional wounds, but can gain one through other game effects. So basically, if it already has the wounds equal or exceeding, you repair it. You can't then get damaged again if you go below your resistance or your resilience level again. That one's crazy. Like so basically, let's say you get you just can't like move backwards with your ATST, and you just keep healing it back up. Like whoever moves backwards with that thing.
Yeah, well, my big one was I remember the first time I ever played my ATST, and I got damaged my threshold. It was main cannon gone, like weapon disabled. That I'm like, wow, this feels terrible. I'm like, I just got some really unlucky crits on it. And I'm like, wow, what a big waste of points. And then so to be able to actually repair that and feel like you're back in the game again, or actually the first time I flew, well, not the first time on this one was bad, but when I was flying my airspeeder and I didn't take any back on it, I was just trying to keep it cheap.
Yeah.
I hit my threshold and got damaged to weapon again. So I'm like, well, I guess it's just gonna fly around now.
Yeah.
Yep. I played a game against, who was it? It was kind of early on, but I played against somebody who was double T-47, and I rolled weapon destroyed on both of his T-47s.
Oh my gosh.
And they're just like these flying hulks that are like, we'll get you next time.
Did you see the life drained from his eyes? Because it drained from mine.
Yeah, I could hear it over the internet. Yes.
Yeah.
It was that bad. So yeah, the repair stuff is, that's, I can't wait for that. That'll be fun. The heal stuff is along the same vein, and
Yep.
it does the same stuff. I think people were surprised because a lot of people that I talked to didn't think that models were going to come back from the dead, and models can come back from the dead with treat, and that's awesome.
Well, and I think it's good. Something we were talking about recently, like it's a dice game, right? So sometimes with the rolls, it just doesn't go your way, and sometimes you're rolling all blanks on red defense dice. Like I've done that a lot lately, it seems. And so it's nice to have a way to affect the game, because you can't affect the dice besides aim. It's good to have a way to affect the game to kind of come back from that. So, if I roll all blanks, I can now treat and bring a unit back, not a unit, but a mini back, which is good.
Yeah, well, and when you think of, units like Vader or Palpatine that have effects where they can damage themselves, right after Palp's
Oh my
bomb
God.
goes off, you can get him back up to a health where you're like, yeah, I'm not afraid of continuing to move him forward for the last couple turns of the game. So I think that's going to be very useful, and I'm excited for the strategies to come out of that.
Well, and I think with that too, like in that same vein, like you wouldn't have, if you could potentially heal him, you could be a little bit more aggressive with him before you drop the bomb, heal him up, and then drop the bomb too.
Yep.
Like that would be crazy.
Yeah, so there's some fun interactions here coming down the pipe. There's ones that I was worried about that they seem to have fixed, or further clarified things that people thought they knew how it worked. There's probably a couple small things that they've still got to clean up, but they really listened and put a lot into this update, and that's very nice to see.
Yeah, well, they took huge strides. You're right. They listened to the community, and they took huge strides to make, I would say, most of the things that people were complaining about rules-wise are kind of fixed now. I know, like you said, there's a few things, but overall, the big ones, I think they kind of took care of.
Yeah, I'm very excited to to hopefully this upcoming weekend try them in person, because I do feel like it'll really streamline the experience.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Oh, so here's another one I just saw. So this one's interesting too, because it goes along with rapid reinforcements. So if you have scout, it's only after deployment. So if you use snipers or anything with the scout X keyword, you can't use it if you use that unit for rapid reinforcements.
Correct. I actually had that conversation with somebody this last week, because he asked me if he could, and he was proxying recon intel, and he asked me if that came into effect, and I'm glad they clarified it. You had to read the card to figure this out, because I think rapid reinforcement says the unit is placed on the battlefield, and you only get scout moves when you're deployed, and it's not a deployment, you're physically being placed. Same reasons you don't get steady off snowtroopers and stuff like that. So I'm glad they put stuff like that into writing, just to kill those arguments once and forever.
Yeah, for sure. So then I guess, I'm sure this has been covered all over, so I'm not going to go through all the specifics of the cards, but let's talk Jin and the Pathfinders.
Yeah, if you want to see every single one in detail, go to Impact X, because Nick was kind to write it up.
Yes, he read through him and Endless from Notorious can seem to read through all the fuzzy text and get it, know exactly what it said.
Yeah.
Fantasy Flight's onto us, and they're making those really low res now. Even for the X-Wing articles, it's super frustrating, because we're like, well, I don't know what that keyword says, but we're gonna make something up for it.
Yep. Oh man. Well,
so
anyway,
I guess instead of going through specifically all their rules, let's talk about what you're excited about, LJ. What's most exciting about, let's say, Jin? Let's start with Jin. What's most exciting for you about her?
Well, I think the most exciting thing about Jin and Pathfinders is that it probably means Krennic and Death Troopers. I'm just gonna be real with you.
Yeah.
I play Imperial, so this, and people found out through the magic of the internet that confirmed that yes, those are the releases that are going to be the opposite of them. So just to throw it out there, I am very stoked for what it means, that's coming down the road. However, I already talked about Imperials having a unique look to them, with They're overpowering command cards focused on offense and bounties and other ways to get points in your game or to influence the game to make it easier for you to get points. Now you have an answer to that style of play with the Rebels. You've got Han with Reckless Diversion. You've got Chewie who can get your command cards back so you can pull these tricks again. And now you've got units like Jin and Pathfinders that can infiltrate onto the battlefield. So the scenario that I envision with them is Jin and or Pathfinders, your blue player as a rebel during the deployment step. You pick up your Jin, then you put her right next to the center box on recover the supplies. And then you just run away, and it's key positions instead, because it's 3 objectives to 2. And then that puts the Imperial player or the other player, if it's Rebel, at a disadvantage. And that's going to be big. I mean, that's really cool, because I think that's very fitting with the Rebel outlook, because you've got these units that are going to be very objective focused, and trying to get to the objectives early or throw off your opponent's plan is going to be the Rebel calling card. And I'm for that. I'm totally for that. And I think it gives them a fun flavor.
Yeah, and I would say with her, with that danger sense 4 as well, like you can feel pretty confident in putting her in a situation like that and her living, because so basically for everybody, I know I said I didn't want to go through this, but just because I'm talking about it. So basically for danger sense 4, you get the suppression tokens, and then you get, when defending against a range attack, you roll 1 extra defense die for each suppression token you have, adding up to 4 extra dice. It's crazy.
They're still white dice, but yeah, more dice the better. Yeah.
It's more dice. I mean, you can't go wrong with more die. She's good. I really like where they put her. I think she's very well balanced for her point cost versus all of her effects. She's got some other mystery with her because we don't know every detail of her command cards, and of course, she's got a new weapon icon that we haven't seen before. And so, like, what it looks like to me, and I think Scoundrels covered this, was that it looks like now you'll be able to give your commanders optional weapon upgrades just like your regular units, and I'm all for that too. So that'll be fun to see.
Yeah, I think that's going to be really cool too. And then so Pathfinders, they're kind of I guess like they're in the similar vein as she is. And I think they're basically, recover the supplies. That's where these are going to really come in handy.
Yeah, I think they added like some solid troops to the Rebel lineup, and some people are saying, well, we're not sure if we want more troopers, but they made them different than the Commandos, and so I appreciate, I think, what they were going for, and I'm excited to see, of course, how they make their counterparts, just as flavorful and interesting, because the Death Troopers aren't going to necessarily do the same thing as the Pathfinders. That, if you look at what those units were for in Star Wars versus what we saw with the Pathfinders in Rogue One, I think this is going to be one of the first releases where the units don't do the same type of thing like we've seen in the past. We've seen Commandos and Scouts, which both have the same similar options, and I guess Wookiees and Royal Guards are different enough to where maybe I'm eating my words a little bit now, but I'm happy that they're not necessarily releasing the same type of unit for each side. Thematically, they're going to do something different, I think.
It's not symmetrical, right? Like, because every release has been like, they get snipers, you get snipers, they get melee guys, you get melee guys. These like, you're right, like Death Troopers in the movie anyway were more like, they feel like more like snow troopers to me. They're kind of like slow, hard to kill, they don't die, they're tough. But on the Rebel Troopers, they do get Biston, and he's a unique add-on. As far like if we're going by X-Wing standards, right? The dot near the name, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for all of it. I'm assuming they're probably going to jump around a little bit because some people feel like Rogue One stuff is going out of order, but I don't think that means they're done with the original trilogy yet. I think we've still got more to come on that end, and hopefully that is in the ballpark of correct, because there's a lot of cool stuff that this game is probably waiting for before we finally get to the Clone Wars.
Well, yeah, and I would say to those people who think Rogue One is jumping, like I get what you're saying, but at the same time, you have to think about it like this: like from like a commander or from a commander perspective, from the original trilogy, you're looking at what maybe Ben Kenobi, maybe Yoda. You know what I mean? Like you're looking at some powerful characters. So my thought was they were doing this because I think they're trying to just make this even. And then when the Clone Wars stuff comes out, like if you go clone either of the armies from Clone Wars, either the clone army or the droids, you're not going to feel overpowered. You know what I mean? If you're picking up those armies, and then they can start releasing more stuff for the two original.
Oh, sure. And they like Fantasy Flight likes to release stuff kind of in waves like this. So like the wave 3 was announced for X-Wing, and among the two new factions being released, they put the Striker in for the Imperials. So like right now, the Imperials for 2.0 have the original movie ships and then Rogue One ships, the Reaper, the Striker, the TIE Fighter, the TIE Advanced. Like those are all like two iconic movies in the same era, so they're kind of doing that with Legion too, right? Yeah. Like you get the OG stuff and you get the new OG stuff. So yeah, it's just how they like to do it, I think, and I think it's cool.
Yeah, I don't mind at all. I loved Rogue One, so I'm a fan.
Yeah, no, I definitely hold it in high regard as far as putting some of the war back in Star Wars. So, anything they want to throw at us from that movie, I think I'm pretty game for.
Yeah, and we're both Empire players right now, so we're yeah. I was just excited of this because we knew what was coming next, right? So
yeah, I mean, like, what could you pull from it? Death Troopers, Krennic, Shore Troopers, the Occupier. Oh yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing, and I think I'm really excited, especially with some of the we're just talking about the rules, especially some of the like verbiage change in the rules around vehicles, like. I would love to have that tank from Rogue One.
The Occupier, yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool. Like just tanks in general. Like walkers are cool. And I know they're very like, Star Wars.
Iconic, yeah.
But just give me some armor, man. Like I'm ready for that kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm sure we're gonna see more of that kind of stuff as time goes on. It wouldn't surprise me at all. When they started talking about this game, I got the impression of a infantry-centric hero game, and I think that's what they've delivered so far and what they're going to continue to deliver, where it's not going to be like 40K where you can play an army that's mostly comprised of tanks and transports and your minimum amount of troop choices. I don't think that's what they envision for this, and so it wouldn't surprise me if we saw more vehicles added on that play in more of a support role. But for them to add more infantry stuff in this stage of the game doesn't surprise me in the slightest.
No, I agree. Because I like how they give you the limits, right? Like you can only have 2 heavy vehicles, you can only have this many supports, and you got to mix and match a little bit. But I just like options, and right now, like no one uses the T-47. The ATST kind of got phased out a little bit. I just want to see it's cool to see those on the table. I just think they look really neat and thematic, so I'm just ready for a comeback for that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, I already told you what I played when Legion came out. I'm waiting for the ATST comeback myself.
I think it's soon, brother. Very soon.
One of these days, then I'll get all the kids off my lawn.
So I know you're like super busy with LVO, but have you given any thought? Are you going to try to do that team league that Yavin Base and Notorious Scoundrels are setting up, or do you think you're too busy for that?
Yeah, I already signed up.
Yep. So we're going Team 5th Troopers, so we're going to be on there.
So I mean, it works for me, and I'll give it a quick overview if you don't have any idea what we're talking about. So. Invader League happens twice a year. We had one that started in March and one that started in September, and people want us to do something to fill the gap in between the two. It gives people time to practice, it draws attention towards Tabletop Simulator, and it's fun. So what the Scoundrels put together, and Endless from Yavin Base is the one that's heading this up, is the Yavin Base Team League. And so you compete in a team of 3, and then teams are paired off against each other, and then the team captains get to choose who plays who on the opposing team. So like if my team played the 5th Trooper team, I would get to pick, okay, you play Jay, you play Evan, and I play whoever's left over. And then you have a couple weeks to play all three of those games. And then it's just going to be like a Swiss like pairing system. You're going to play people that are, on your win-loss record, and we'll see who can amass the most wins by the end of the tournament. And we'll play as many rounds as we get teams to sign up. So, if we get 10 teams, it'll probably take a little bit longer than if we get 4 teams, for example. So, I'm excited. I think it's good the way it works, because you have like a couple weeks. I think it's 2 weeks to play a game against your opponent. And so that's manageable. It's an extra requirement, sure, but at the same time, like I think it's very manageable. And I was actually recently given the Discord. The guy who ran it for since its inception asked me if I would run it, because he had to step away from doing that, and he's still part of the admin team. But I was like, well, I want to try to be a good admin and play in this and support my guys that are, basically doing this because the Invader League inspired them to run their own league. So I asked the other admins, I was like, hey, you want to run an admin team? And they were like, and a couple of guys were like, sure. So we now have the admin menace.
Oh, I like
Nice.
that. That's good.
So yes, I have 2 other guys. Both are actually outside of the U.S., so I've got quite the varied team. But I think we're very excited to just get some more games in, and I'm waiting to see what the rules are going to be on, like what kind of content we're playing with. But again, like I see this as an awesome opportunity to test stuff. So when I go to my in real life tournaments, I've got strategies that I've tested in an environment that's fairly competitive, and I know will help steer me to victory when I play in person.
Yeah, I agree 100%, because I've been coming out of a couple tournaments lately going, I got to play more. And then I was like, what am I doing? I can get on Tabletop Simulator. So every chance to get into one of these leagues, like when Invader League comes around again, I'm definitely signing up this time. I've been practicing on, learning this, learning TTS and the system. But yeah, I agree. It's a great way to practice when you can't, go in person. So, and then for anybody who doesn't know, if you want to sign up for the team, it's open to everybody. You just need a team of 3. Check out yavinbase.wordpress.com and look at the Yavin Base Team League, and it'll have all the information for you there, how to sign up. So highly recommend to do it. I think it's going to be a ton of fun, and you'll get to face some of the best, because I heard a lot of Invader League players are talking about putting teams together, so I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, they've already got more than a couple teams signed up for it, so I know it's already received a pretty positive response for just being up for a day or so. And it's an easy format. You get a couple buddies together, you play a game every 2 weeks or so, basically, and you get to play against people you've never seen before. And the maps are going to be some of the stuff we've used for Invader, so they're going to be decent quality maps. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a good time.
Yeah, I think it will too. And I believe, was it December 8th? You have till December 8th to sign up and register. I think December 4th, morning of December 4th. Yeah. So so try to get in by then and check that out. So I don't know, LJ, anything else? Anything else you want to talk about, buddy? You got the platform. What do you got?
I don't know.
No, I think we covered everything so much.
No, there's just a lot of stuff going on. I look back at this last year since March when Legion dropped, and I'm very pleased with how things have shaped up. I think they had a quality game from the start, and they've done things to make it better. A release every month, these rule clarifications, glimpses into the future of what's coming. I honestly think Legion has a bright future ahead of it. You can't really put it better than Pablo from Frontline Gaming, who's my contact for LVO, who said, well, you've got 15 players signed up. I don't expect more than 20. And then a month later, we hit 50. And that really should tell you the stock that people are putting into this game, and the future that it has ahead of it. You've got people that create some fantastic work, supports, miniatures, tables, so many things that give this game, I think, an ability to extend beyond what people might think its life might be. And it's very exciting. It's a very positive outlook, and there's a lot of things to look forward to, between just playing a game with your buddy all the way up to going to a maximum firepower and eventually, a high command and worlds. There's a lot going on here, and I just hope it continues to grow. And, with people like yourself that set up and do podcasts and that join the community in their own special way, that's the kind of stuff that's going to keep it going strong in a year or two and beyond.
Yeah, man. And listen, I just thank you so much, because like you said, I think you're doing as much for the community as everyone else is doing with TO and all these events and Invader League and LVO and answering everybody's questions on Facebook. I think you're doing a great job, man. So keep it up, and look forward to everything that you're doing and seeing you in Vegas. I think that's going to be a blast, and it's going to be good times.
Yep. I'm going to try to grab myself a Legion Discord t-shirt, because I believe the guy who was the admin for the Discord, he is making like 20 of them for us. So we're going to have some sweet t-shirts to throw at people and rep that. Gotta pay homage to the Discord where everything started. And
sir.
I can't wait to see everybody. It's going to be such a fun day of Legion, and hopefully weekend of camaraderie and booze, because it's Vegas.
Yeah, sure. Of course.
I mean, I don't know if people realize this, but this is probably the only convention where people are going to be walking around with beers, and that's totally fine.
Yeah, and man, if you've never been to Vegas before, people, you literally can walk down the street with a beer in your hand. It's crazy. Yeah. So enjoy.
And go do something fun while you're there. Get away from the convention and do something else. So many good shows in Vegas that are actually pretty inexpensive when you think about how expensive these things can get. Go see Penn and Teller. Go see Blue Man Group. Go see Piff the Magic Dragon. I just people watch. Walk up and down the strip and just look at the interesting and weird people. Let's put it that way. That walk around Vegas at any time of day. I mean, it'll be such an experience if you haven't been. And hopefully we bring some of that atmosphere to the actual tournaments that you're going for and stuff like that.
And I'll leave everybody with this. It's a little distasteful, but I don't care, because it was funny. So the last time I was in Vegas, I was walking across one of the bridges that goes across the strip, and that's where, let's call them the ladies of the night, stand. And there was a small person, lady of the night, and she asked me if I wanted to spend some time with her, and it was only half the price.
Wah, wah.
So that is one of my favorite jokes I've ever heard in my life.
This is Vegas, baby.
Yeah.
So when I did the podcast with the Outriders a month ago, however long it was, we were walking back from lunch right before we were going to record, and this guy ran into me in a parking lot, and I thought he was going to ask me for money or something, but he ran into me, and then he stared at me, looked me up and down, and was like, "You know what? Never mind. You look too healthy to smoke. I'm not going to ask you." And then he walked away.
Yeah, if you want to have random encounters and just things you've never seen before in your entire life, come on down to Vegas. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to it. And hopefully 2020 LVO is bigger than 2019. But man, I can't wait to see how this first one shakes out. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, it's going to be incredible. Well, LJ, thank you so much for joining, man. Really appreciate your time on this, and can't wait to see you in LVO. I think it's going to be a blast.
Thank you very much. I can't wait to see you guys and the community and just everybody, no matter what your contribution is. Please make sure that you come up to me, say hi, and shake my hand before you go throughout your day, because I do want to meet every single person that comes to the tournament.
Yeah, man. Well, that'll do it for us this week. Join us next week. And as always, stay cool, everybody.
Have a good one, guys.
Join us next week for another edition of the Fifth Trooper Podcast.
This has been a Fifth Trooper production.